Welcome to the news on Zodiac with me, Job Frank Chakaza. The headlines. At least 21 primary schools in Cholo damaged by stormy rains since onset of rains in October. President Chakwera and his vice Chilima joined faith leaders at National Service of Thanksgiving in Lilongwe. Leader of opposition Kwagwanji condemns surge in sexual violence against women and girls. And in sports, under-20 national team off to South Africa for COSAFA Youth Championship Games. At least 21 primary schools and one secondary school in Cholo have been damaged by stormy rains since the onset of rains there in October this year. Relief and Rehabilitation Officer at Cholo District Council, Faith Kamula, says over 2,000 households have been displaced by the stormy rains. According to Kamula, this is a wake-up call to education authorities to check their infrastructures. Most of them are old and cannot withstand strong winds. Hastings Jimani reports.
From late October, some parts of the country started receiving rains accompanied by strong winds, and in Cholo, the stormy rains have so far damaged 21 primary schools and one secondary school. Relief and Rehabilitation Officer at Cholo District Council, Faith Kamula, says this is a wake-up call to education authorities to check on their infrastructures, as most of them are old and cannot withstand strong winds. She also said the winds have displaced 2,310 households, and according to Kamula, 50% of them are elderly-headed families.
Currently, in Cholo, we have approximately 2,310 houses that have been affected with strong winds. We have people who are homeless, who are camping in churches, schools. It's been quite devastating for the community for them to respond back to the strong winds. And not only that, we have 22 schools that are currently having classes that are not functioning due to the strong winds. The schools we are having here, they are old infrastructures, whereby when they meet, for example, a strong wind, it's easy for them to collapse, to have their roofs burn off.
Kamula said one death has been registered so far. She is a lady who was trapped in her house and was admitted to this hospital, where she died on Monday evening. For Zodiac, this is Hastings Jimani reporting.
The Office of the Director of Public Officers Declarations has embarked on a campaign aimed at empowering communities to act as whistleblowers when they notice that their duty bearers are accumulating wealth questionably. Otport's Principal Declarations Officer responsible for public education, Bright Chimatiro, said the taxpayers themselves should always know and track whether their public officers are serving this nation accordingly or not. According to Chimatiro, the campaign, which has partnered with National Initiative for Civic Education Trust, also seeks to enlighten community members about the act that gives them an opportunity to go to Otport offices and see what their public officers have declared. Wilson Henry has filed this report.
Principal Declarations Officer in the Office of the Director of Public Officers Declarations responsible for public education, Bright Chimatiro, said it is imperative that people, including those living in hard-to-reach areas, know how their tax is used. For this reason, Chimatiro said the institution has introduced an exercise to civic educate people on duties of ODPOD and how to report officers that enrich themselves even without declaring their assets. He observed that a good number of public officers go unchecked, though they accumulate a lot of wealth through dubious means.
The general public, they are the taxpayer. Every public official, every elected official in government, they do that on behalf of the general public. So the taxpayer should be able to follow and track whether the public officers are enriching themselves or they are serving them.
In Nchinji, the institution has engaged community members and traditional authorities Kapondo and Mavere, where it has also highlighted about the act that gives people an opportunity to go to ODPOD offices and see what their duty bearers have declared. District Civic Education Officer for Nice Trust in Mchinji, Paul Kanyenda, say they have a big role to play to complement government's efforts and ensure that the institution achieves its intended goals.
It's really helpful, and as Nice, we feel that we have a role that we need to play because we are there again to complement government efforts.
Meanwhile, the organization plans to carry out a similar exercise in other districts including Salima, Doa, Deds and Lilongwe. at least by early December 2020.
President Lazarus Chakwera and his vice Saulos Chilima this morning joined faith leaders at a national service of thanksgiving in Lilongwe. The prayers centered around the country's peace, the peaceful June 23 elections, prayer for the economy, among other petitions. And on Tuesday, President Chakwera expressed disappointment with shortfalls dogging implementation of the Affordable Input Program. He says it was sad that people are still struggling to access the cheap fertilizers. He spoke yesterday at Mitundu in Lilongwe, where he met people who have been waiting days on end to procure fertilizer.
I first noticed when we passed by here that this was a selling point, and so we made it so we could stop before we got back. And they have told me the kind of challenges they are facing. While they have served more people, many more people are yet to be served. The supplies right now have pretty much run out, and they are appealing to their suppliers to make sure that there shouldn't be a time lapse. We will check with them, but they have, yesterday they sold 30 tons, and so they are expecting another load to come because I think urea has finished and there's just one type NPK. So even though network sometimes does give trouble, they said that has not been the main issue, except for a few moments today. But otherwise, network has been okay, and they are serving the old and people with disabilities as priorities. The issue is we have so many households, and many want to be served so they can go because the rains have come. But we want to make sure that everyone should stay assured. The supplies will come, they will have their turn, and they will buy these affordable inputs.
Meanwhile, his Agriculture Minister Robin Lowe was in Neno, where he issued a blank threat to suppliers who are failing to supply affordable farm inputs for lack of capacity. There are about 40 suppliers who can't supply their contracts, and the minister says they risked having their contracts terminated and given punishment for breach of contracts.
After touring Branta ADT, it's encouraging to be in Neno district, considering that it's already over 57% redemption. This means that the pressure that was there has totally reduced. So this time farmers are able to go and buy freely. But we still have some work to do with the Branta ADT and the other districts. The lands are here, but the inputs are available. So I'm trying to encourage all beneficiaries not to panic, because a message from farmers, it appears farmers had wrong information that the program may end soon. This is wrong information. We have enough stock in the country, and if private companies don't have their supplies, we'll engage the public entities, that is ADMAC and smallholder. So it's an assurance. We have enough stocks for everybody. Yeah, because what I've learned is if you go into main trading centers, you find out some main trading centers, more especially in town. That's the only place you can see some queues, meaning that people are coming from far to benefit in town. So the best way we have agreed with the program manager and the DATO is to encourage the suppliers to operate through mobile vending. And we strongly feel by mobile vending, we will get the beneficiaries right in their homes.
Government has signed a 3.9 billion kwacha grant agreement with the government of Norway to implement a sustainable food system in Malawi. The resources channeled through Luana will invest in agricultural research, extension and climate-smart systems to enhance food security. Norwegian ambassador to Malawi, Steinar Egil says his government expects that the works that Luana will undertake will be replicated to farmers and make Malawi food secure.
The agriculture, the smallholder farmers, they also depend on advice, extension services, and the kind of advice they will be receiving are based on, in the end, on research that is carried out by local agricultural experts here in Malawi.
We'll make sure that this support we have got from the Norwegian government is channeled to the intended objective of the program and the programs that Luana wants to run, which are in the areas of research and indeed outreach programs. Through our discipline and the systems that we have put in place, through the public finance management rules, we make sure that none of the monies that we have received are taken away from the intended purpose.
You're watching the news on Zodiac. We have more to come shortly. Welcome back. Here with me, Job Frank Chakaza. Let's look at the headlines. At least 21 primary schools in Cholo damaged by stormy rains since onset of rains in October. President Chakwera and his vice Chilima joined faith leaders at National Service of Thanksgiving in Lilongwe. Leader of opposition Kwagwanji condemns surge in sexual violence against women and girls. And in sports, under-20 national team off to South Africa for COSAFA Youth Championship Games. Moving on, a leader of opposition Kwagwanji has condemned the surge in sexual violence against women and girls in the country. In a statement, Nkhani has appealed for a robust judicial system which will see cases of gender-based violence given priority in investigations, trial and sentencing. Alex Banda reports.
The leader of opposition, Kwagwanji Nkhani, who is also DPP vice president for the South, says the sexual and gender-based violence in the country have reached barbaric levels. Nkhani, in a statement, has condemned that priority be given to investigate, try and net out stiffer penalties to perpetrators. The leader of opposition in the August House has also appealed to government to initiate a deliberate process to see a legislation passed to support this idea.
What is happening in Malawi now is barbaric. The time for mere talking or lip service is over. That time is not now. What we need is action and more action. And the action will be contained in the legal provision, proper legal framework. Present that to Parliament for deliberation as a matter of urgency, so that we walk the talk in as far as the issue of this gender-based violence, rape, and several other things.
Just days ago, President Lazarus Chakwera made a similar plea for the judicial system to net out stiffer penalties to offenders. This year, about 1,800 rape and deformment cases have been recorded, a surge that has seen duty-bearers and stakeholders condemn the practice. Currently, Malawi and the world over are observing 16 days of activism against gender-based violence to see a decline in the shadow pandemic. For Zodiac, this is Alex Banda.
In business, private fuel transporters in the country have given ministries of Energy, Transport and Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority MERA 14 days to reverse a policy that recommends 90% fuel importation share to National Oil Company of Malawi NOCMA and 10% to Petroleum Importers Limited. Petroleum Importers Limited General Manager Martin Nsimuko said the decision is killing Malawi fuel transporters as the largest number of transporters contracted by NOCMA are foreign-based. Government has yet to react to this. Here's Mr. Nsimuko. we as PIL, we have been supplying fuel for the past 20 years, and we have the capacity to bring in, even if it is all the supplies. Since we have been doing it for the past 20 years, we are able to bring even more, given the chance. I think we have the necessary experience, and we have done it. We have the stakeholders who support us, and even the customers who have been supporting us. Therefore, it will not be difficult to continue bringing the right amount of fuel for the country. People are witnesses of what we have been able to do in the past few years. We have never failed Malawi. Even in 2012, when there was a big fuel shortage, we are the ones who supported Malawi, and the people moved. The greatest problem that we have in terms of fuel is the availability of foreign exchange. Therefore, having foreign exchange available and the bank supporting us, there will be no problem with us bringing the amount of fuel that is required. And therefore, whether it is 50% or 100%, we are able to bring. And therefore, to say that we have failed Malawi even during the COVID time, it is not right, because that time the demand was lower, and therefore the amount of fuel that we were bringing was also equivalent to the demand that time. We had the right amount of fuel, and even the regulator, who is MERA, confirmed the same in the same meeting, that we brought the right amount of fuel, and therefore we are wondering where this information that was shared with the parliamentary committee came from.
We have been hearing rumors around, of which it has been said in the shares which PIL has, because PIL has 50 and Nokima has 50. Now it has been rumored to say they want to take out the 40% from PIL and give it to Nokima, making Nokima like 90% to be carrying fuel. Now, we all along, we have been carrying this PIL, and we have been surviving by the PIL. Now, if they take out the 40%, give it to Nokima, that means they are actually killing us. So today's meeting is about to say, no, we are saying no, don't take out that 40% from PIL. Give PIL what belongs to PIL 50%, because we have been surviving on that one. Because when it comes to Nokima, we as local transporters doing the Assam corridors, we are not able, or we don't even load what is of Nokima, of that 50%. Majority of it is being carried by foreign trucks. So we as locals, we are only getting the advantage to load from the Assam corridor through PIL. So if they happen to take out the 40% and give it to Nokima, that means they have actually killed us as local transporters.
And now in sports news. Malawi Under-20 national team yesterday left for South Africa ahead of COSAFA Youth Championship, which starts this Thursday. Under-20 coach Patrick Mabedi said his charges have set their eyes on qualifying for the 2021 Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. Brett Kanyama has filed this report.
Malawi Under-20 football team has been camping for 3 weeks, preparing for COSAFA Youth Championship scheduled to kick off on Thursday in South Africa. The Under-20's mentor Patrick Mabedi named a 20-member squad, which he and his backroom staff have left the country with this morning. Mabedi told journalists that he has gathered a strong squad which will challenge for honours at the tournament, but was quick to acknowledge the tough task that his team has at the tournament. Malawi is in Group B alongside rivals Zambia, Namibia and Comoros.
We go in there with a purpose to take these games as our also opportunity to make us to qualify to go further. So we're taking very serious. We're taking very, very serious for this game. And when we go there, we're taking one game at a time.
Meanwhile, sports analyst George Chusiwa has expressed concern over the country's continued participation in international youth tournaments like COSAFA, saying the country is not benefiting.
One would also ask as to why is it that FAM is always coming up with a new under-17 team every time we are going to the COSAFA tournament. This is not sustainable, and of course, surely such elements as continuity and the transition of these teams cannot be achieved.
Chiusiwa's comment comes as the Malawi Under-17 side were humiliated at the Under-17 Youth Championship, where they failed to win a single match. This year's COSAFA Under-20 Championship will be used as a regional qualifier for the 2021 Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations to be hosted in Mauritania. For Zodiac, this is Bright Kanyama.
In other news, aid agencies say that a low-cost strawberry-flavored tablet for children living with HIV will be rolled out in African countries next year. It is to be the first generic pediatric version of a key antiretroviral therapy, which will even be available for babies. This means no more crushing of adult-sized tablets. The UN estimates that more than 1.5 million children around the world live with HIV, but says only half receive any treatment. One thing that's made it difficult for young children to take their antiretroviral medication has been the bitter taste of the pills. And that's what we had time for in this edition of the news. Before we go, let's look at the headlines one more time. At least 21 primary schools in Cholo damaged by stormy rains since onset of rains in October. President Chakwera and his vice Chilima joined faith leaders at National Service of Thanksgiving in Lilongwe. Leader of opposition Kwagwanji Nkhani condemns surge in sexual violence against women and girls. And in sports, Under-20 national team off to South Africa for COSAFA Youth Championship Games. Log on to our website, zodiacmalawi.com, for more news. Remember, washing hands with soap regularly helps stop further spread of COVID-19. Goodbye.